to be grateful. Remember that life and time is a grant, is a gift. Is no guarantee. It is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He extends to some folks and He withholds from other folks. I think it's befitting for a Muslim to be grateful and to be mindful that this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be granted health, life, time, opportunity, tawfiq, success, facilitation, to be in the company of the righteous. It's a good ni'mah. It's a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a good gift for which we should be grateful. Today is a good day. The day of Friday is a good day. The Messenger ﷺ says that during the day of Friday, some scholars they mentioned after Jum'ah, others mentioned with sound dalil that it is the hour of sunset or the hour prior to sunset, that no slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he or she raises their hand except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to them, replies to them, grants them, blesses them. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst the people of such an hour, Ameen. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerity and acceptance in all our affairs. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our words true, to make our words meaningful, to make our words impactful, and to give us the ability to act on those words and not to render them just mere words lacking and devoid of action. However, they would be confirmed by actions and they would be given life through our decisions, inshallah. So with this quick intro, I wanted to share with you a very near and dear to my heart topic, and that is the topic of Hijra. I'm sure that you must have heard about the topic of Hijra, or typically translated as the physical migration of the Messenger ﷺ and later on his companions from the city of Mecca to the city of Yathrib, later on to be named Medina. Very interesting selection of words here, or of terms, I should say. Medina, the city of Medina is indicative of two things, linguistically speaking. One, that it is the civilized town, Madaniya. It comes from being civilized, being, I guess for the lack of a better term, like, progressive in terms of services and living up to standard, living up to par. Also, it's a reflection that it is the city that, linguistically speaking, also a city that received the honor of being associated with the Prophet ﷺ. So both are linguistically sound, but point being, that is the physical migration from the city of Mecca to the city of Medina, the Prophet ﷺ. So anyone in this excellent halaqah attending, thought embracing crowd knows the purpose of Hijra. What is the purpose of Hijra, brothers and sisters? What was the point of Hijra? What was the purpose of Hijra? What was the goal of Hijra? Why did it happen? What's the why behind it? Many people talk about the how, right? And the what. There was like from this point A to point B, yes or no. And they talk about what happened and the Messenger ﷺ, and then, the whole thing of the cave, right? And then, all of you went to Sunday school. Come on. Yes, he did. Yeah, you remember, right? And the whole thing with, the mushrik, or the person who was following the Messenger ﷺ, and right? And then, the Meccans with 100 camels, like some serious cash, on the head of the Prophet ﷺ. Literally, two competing causes. One, in terms of the what, one group of people literally willing to do everything to kill the Messenger ﷺ, and another group of people that he's migrating to are willing to die for his life, to die in pursuit of saving his life. So it's a very drastic difference between the two people. Isn't it very interesting that what happened to this second group of people? How could someone be willing to die for the life of another man? Why is this happening, and how did this whole thing come about? Well, if we know the purpose of Hijra, maybe we can begin to sort of not talk about, the historical events and what happened and things like that, but let's learn more about the people who are involved and why they chose to do what they have chosen to do. So, again, question on the floor. Purpose of Hijra. What is the purpose? Yes? yeah, protecting, Muslims. They were subject to torture, right? They were subject to acts of violence against them and stuff like that, and consolidate them. Let's everybody come in one place. If everybody moves to Dallas, and it'll be with Sheikh Yasser Burgess and around like the Epic community and Sheikh Yasser Qadi, everybody just start like moving there, everything Islam in America will be great. And that's partially true. But the point is consolidating the Muslims, the sister is saying. Is that, yes? Creating a foundation for the Muslims. Yes, we're coming a little closer, building on this point. Excellent. That's another excellent point. Foundation for what? What? Huh? To what? At any point in a Muslim's life, you and I are doing one of two things. We're protecting our deen, or we are spreading our deen. We're doing one of these two things, right? So literally, Muslimin were under such unbelievable, tournament and torture and subjugation and many, many things that prevented them from spreading Islam, let alone that started affecting their own Islam. They cannot protect their Islam, and people are literally, physically, metaphorically, in every sense of the word, like pushing them towards non-belief, right? So that is the purpose of the Hijra. Kind of like, yes, the purpose of the Hijra is to create a foundation in order for the Muslimin to protect their Islam and to, start building, a core of believers who are going to spread the message of Islam. Yeah, 90% correct, I'd say. That's correct. For the very first time, why it's not 100%? For the very first time, there was a conscious decision that was made that we really need to change the environment. We really need to change our surroundings. We really need to change, how we interact with the space and the people living in this space. We need to change that. It's not working for us. So for the very first time, the Messenger ﷺ for 13 years, he did one thing and one thing only. He will go out and tell people about Quran, tell people about Islam, tell people about two things. Number one, there's one true God, the maintainer, sustainer of heavens and earth. Number two, there is a day of judgment. There is a day to come in which you are going to be held accountable for all your actions, and you're going to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created you at the first place in order to deserve one of two abodes, one of two endings. Yes or no? So the Messenger ﷺ did that repeatedly, over and over. He went to the city of Ta'if and so on and so forth. Then the Messenger did something very different. Then he made a conscious decision that this environment is no longer fitting for the message of Islam. Now we need to find another place, another environment, another surroundings, another set of folks that we can interact with in order to protect our Islam and aspire, second step, to spread the message of Islam. So the Messenger ﷺ said, okay, that's it. Well, I'm going to do something different now. There is a shift in strategy. There is a paradigm shift, major shift. That's why when we celebrate Hijra in the month of Muharram, this month of ours, we just started the new year of Islamic calendar. Anybody knows what year? What year? Huh? 1446, right? We were 1445 before. 1446, that's correct. Why is this important? Well, Umar ibn Khattab was so confused. People came to him, said, oh my God, we don't know. You said the month of April or the month of, May, but what year? You said 3 years. From what year? We don't know. We don't have a calendar. So we are literally not celebrating the Hijra. The Hijra did not take place in the month of Muharram, this month of ours, the beginning of the year. We are celebrating an executive decision of Umar ibn al-Khattab to use the event of Hijra to start marking the time for Muslimin, to start an Islamic calendar. That's why we're celebrating. We're celebrating this very, very insightful decision of this amazing human being, this amazing companion, this amazing leader, to say, look, this is the single most significant event in the history of Islam and Muslims. I'm going to use that event, not the birth of the messenger, not whatever. Brother Umair, come back, man. Where are you going? Come on, we just started. It's so cool. So we're celebrating this executive decision of Umar ibn al-Khattab. But the Hijra itself did not take place in the month of Muharram. There is, back and forth between the scholars on the exact month, but the idea behind it is that Umar ibn al-Khattab said, look, this is the single most important event because the Messenger ﷺ, made a strategic shift in the way he conveys the message of Islam, and he made a determination that he is no longer going to entertain the environment in Mecca as a place fitting for da'wah and for the spreading of the message of Islam. And he has to change that moving forward. Yes. So I think that gives us a good 100%. So that completes the picture. Yes. So because of these two things, the fact that we wanted to, build a foundation to spread Islam, we are the result of that, thousands of miles away from that particular physical location, and hundreds of years later from the time where this incident of Hijra has taken place, you and I, thanks to the Messenger ﷺ, and thanks to the companions, and thanks to the people who accepted to protect him so he could move from Mecca to Medina, you and I have become Muslim. And you and I have become Muslim whether we are born into the tradition or we've embraced the tradition later on after we have gone through a journey of, searching for, what is our purpose, answering our existential questions. What am I here to do, and where did we come from, and where are we going, and so on. So that is the significance of this event, that executive decision of this amazing leader. Number two, honoring the event because it really did shift the course of history quite literally and made, millions and millions and millions of Muslims come into Islam in droves. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. That if the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, revealed during the time, before the time of the conquest of Mecca, and you're gonna see people enter into Islam in droves, afwaja, in major numbers. That major numbers coming into Islam is a result of this decision. So let's learn two things together, and I think they are important. One thing, how did this happen? Let's learn a little bit about the people who enabled the messenger to make that decision comfortably and to call the shots and say, listen, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna actually make this trip, and I'm gonna prepare, and I'm gonna go ahead and move, and so on. What did the messenger do? And again, I don't want us to, we did all the stuff in Sunday school, right? You guys remember all the events and everything, and Ali ibn Abi Talib, he slept in the bedroom of the Messenger ﷺ in his bed, and then he came. Yes, some don't know? Okay. So we'll do it after the lecture. So really super quick. So in 1 minute, 30 seconds, and time. Okay, so Ali ibn Abi Talib, who's the cousin of Messenger ﷺ, he actually spent, the whole night in his bedroom, and basically the messenger came out of his room, and all the people from every single tribe, a man was commissioned to kill the messenger. They said they're going to strike him as one man, all the different tribes, different swords, one strike in order to kill him, so his blood would be spread amongst all the different tribes, and no tribe is going, his tribe would not be able to go after a single tribe because his blood is diffused amongst all the different tribes, so they cannot call for revenge. So that was the plan. They said, this man is too dangerous. This man is calling for a reform, is calling for a social revolution. This man is gonna, make equal the sons of the slaves to the sons of the masters. Nonsense. You guys have to listen to the sounds of Sirah. One of the guys in my halaqah, he's brilliant, amazing. His name is Ibrahim Salman. He has something called the sounds of Sirah. So I listened to it, and he has a couple of nice plays on the voices. So he does Abu Talib a little bit and stuff like that. So I try to to imitate, but I failed miserably. He kicked me out of the studio. He says, you're not good enough. We need to make sure that we get somebody younger and more like full of energy. Not a true story, but like he's going to consider my resume. That's a good thing. But check it out. Sounds of Sira is really awesome, by Ibrahim Salman. Sounds of Sira. Okay. I could book him, inshallah, to come see you guys in a couple of Fridays, inshallah. So, the messenger comes out of his room and all these folks have, fell asleep, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he recited part of Surah Yasin. And then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam starts his journey. Abu Bakr has the 2 camels ready, and Abu Bakr is very thrilled and overwhelmed by emotions because he is going to be the companion of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this blessed trip. So he's very, very excited. They go, and midway there is 100 camels reward, tremendous like amount of money at the time. If anybody captures Muhammad and his companion, they are going to get this money, and they're going to, have this major like wealth, secured to their name. So the Messenger ﷺ reaches the city of Medina successfully, and, the person who almost caught up to him, the Messenger promises him the bracelets of the Persian king and stuff like that, because the Muslims, he promised him and he projected and he prophesied like later on that the Muslims are going to go into the lands of the Persians, which is one of the 2 major powers of the time, the Romans and the Persians. And the prophecy comes true in the time of Umar ibn Khattab, and this person is given all this gold as the messenger had promised him. So the messenger later on reaches the city of Mecca, and happy ending, Tala al-Badru alayna, the famous, songs, and everyone is like receiving the messenger. Great triumph. The messenger successfully moves to the city of Medina, and that is the story of Hijra. Now, how did it start? Which is the 2 points that I hope that we could learn together, inshallah. Let's learn a little bit about the folks who interacted with the messenger. The messenger, his strategy. So what is the first point that we talked about? We have to make sure that our environment, we have to make sure that our center, our masjid, our community center, the place that we come to is a sound place. A sound place in terms of, how we interact with our sisters and respect them. A sound place in terms of how we deal with our brothers and we honor them, and we have, a bond of brotherhood between ourselves. We respect the place. Youth are given a lot of opportunities. Those who are older are always facilitating and always trying to empower. There is a great deal of, a pursuit of knowledge. There is, respect for the scholars and the teachers. Sound environment. A welcoming, nice, embracing, great place, third space. I come, this is my home away from home. If I truly feel like that, then this place and any other place will be going, we'll be able to scale and go to places. That was not the story of the city of Mecca. It was contrary to everything I described. There was like masters and slaves. There was like, listen, you're not equal to this because I am from this type of like people and so on and so. And you are from this type of people, so on so. Debasing some people, elevating some people based on, the color of their skin, based on the tribal, alliances, and based on their lineage and things like that. So that is a place that's full of corruption, and it's not ready to receive a message of guidance. The messenger, as we mentioned, had to change the environment. So number 1 lesson, change your environment. If your environment is not sound, if your environment is not befitting to be a place for the message of Islam and the prophetic tradition and the guidance of Islam, you have to change your environment. You have that obligation. Not somebody who's gonna come and parachute, is gonna land on Ibn Sina, and he's going to, I used to do that, by the way. So I did a couple of parachute jumps. Talk to me afterwards. Not on top of Ibn Sina. So I used to be part of a parachuting group, and, we used to do it like a weekend. It's a lot of fun. The best 3 minutes of my life. You go completely, off topic, but why not? So you go, you come out of that plane, and it's just like a lot of sound and stuff like that. And you go through the clouds, and it's a very spiritual experience, I have to say. So everything is white around you, and you can see everything is white. It's just you're going through the clouds, and it's such a sobering like moment or whatever. And then, you start like breaking through the clouds, and then the sun comes like almost in your face, and you start like making, you're a little less disoriented, and you're seeing things, and such an amazing like scene from up top, like the same way you see it from plane, but it's a free fall. So it's like very, full of, excitement. Anyway, so, I hope you enjoyed that story, but, so basically no one is going to come and say you have the obligation. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, where do we get this from? That He does not change the condition of a people in Surah Al-Ra'd, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He's not changing the condition of the people unless they change that which is within themselves, meaning that they change themselves and change the environment around them, that they have good intention and ask others to do the same and change that which is wrong. Any form of like, anything that's displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and elements of corruption, they have the obligation of changing them. Okay, so we learned one thing, which is changing the environment. Now let's learn a little bit about the people that the messenger interacted with. I happen to think, and not just me, many scholars who taught me better than I, happen to think they are great people, but they are not well known at all in history. Messenger ﷺ interacted with a number of groups during the season of Hajj. So he used the opportunity of Hajj, where many people come to visit the city of Mecca, to present a vision for the Arabian Peninsula, and to say what is happening here could like get better, and what we are, our dealings and the way we interact with each other could definitely change for the better. So he had a vision, and he talked to people, and he used mostly ayat of the Quran, in addition to introduction that he typically used with the different tribes. So he came across a number of tribes. First year, he spoke to every single tribe. The outcome was, how many people accepted Islam? Zero. He spoke to every single delegation that came from the four corners of the Arabian Peninsula, and not a single one accepted Islam or entertained his vision or his message. He did not give up the second year. He approached all the different delegations, and how many people became Muslims after he spoke to them? Every single delegation, coming from all four corners of the Arabian Peninsula. From the north, Syria and Jordan; from the south, Yemen and Oman; from the east, the Gulf, what is currently UAE and so on; and from the west, where, by the Red Sea. All the different tribes. How many people accepted Islam? 4. First year, 0. Second year, 4. However, after those 4 accepted Islam, he came across 6. Well, before the 6 folks, he talked. So very important 2 interactions. Let's document them here. One is the tribe of Banu Amir. And that's what I wanted to talk to you a little more about, which is the environment. Banu Amir were great people. They're able to give him. Now, what is he saying? He's saying, you protect me and you fight to allow me to deliver this message. So it's not just, protecting him and so on. For the very first time, he's asking for protection and facilitation for him to deliver the message. So quite a commitment. You're going to have to really make sure that you know what you're signing up for. So he came to Banu Amir and he asked them, would you be interested to entertain this message and this vision? He said, the leader of Banu Amir, he said, this man is gifted. I swear it. This man could definitely rule the Arabian Peninsula. If he is on my side, I would definitely be amongst the winners, the triumphants, those who are really going to have decision-making authority and will be able to rule over people. So they went to him and they said, look, really like very much what you mentioned. You read some really great Quran and we're very impressed and very moved by that. We're very impressed and moved by your character. We think what you call towards is something of meaning or something of virtue, of something that we would like to support. However, after your passing, would it be okay that we become the leaders amongst Arabia or in Arabia? So the Messenger ﷺ said, this is the matter of leadership is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ذَلِكَ الْأَمْرُ يُؤْتِيهِ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives it to whoever He pleases. It's not like, in my hand, I deliver the message, and after my passing, whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigns for this, or whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants, this leadership, it's up to him. So he said, ouch, too bad. You really sound good. Really like the Quran that you read. But, the ayat in the Quran, it says that in ashrakta la yahbatanna amalu. That if you associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this message is good, but we want some leadership too. It's a great lesson from the Messenger ﷺ that he does not extend partialist Islam or a partialist version of Islam. So this Islam is a package. Part of it is that you submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and yes, you like the Quran, and yes, you like the character of the Messenger, you're impressed by his prophetic traditions and traits and so on. But at the same time, you need to humble yourself. You need to do it sincerely and genuinely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. That's the only thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts. If there is another ulterior motive or some other thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept. Let's make no mistake about this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is crystal clear in the Quran. Unless your intention is truly sincere, He does not grant tawfiq or blessing in what you do, and your dealings might look good on the outside, but on the inside, it's pretty hollow. It's not really going to have traction and stickiness, and it's not going to deliver you to the outcome that you aspire for. Is that point clear? Let's stop here. So this is an important point. This is a very important point. There is a complete package of Islam, and there is a partial proposal in Islam. I like this and I like that, but this other thing I'm not so sure about. Islam is a comprehensive offering. It's extremely important. Messenger had nobody. Imagine yourself. You had zero for a whole year. 12 months, man. 12 months. You get nobody. And the second year, 4 people. You have tribes come, caravans coming with 100 plus people performing Hajj in each tribe and so on. Thousands of people descending on the city of Mecca. And he gets 4 people. You're a very compromised position, but you choose not to compromise the message for the short term gain. No, I rather continue laboring and exerting the effort, but not compromise the message. Not to short sell. You know what? When it comes to Palestine, we'll settle for those are just, it's inhumane the way we treat those Palestinians or whatever. No, it's not only inhumane, it's their God-given right to fight against you if you dare to oppress them, if you dare to take their land, if you dare to, drop bombs on their heads, it's their God-given right as a Muslim to stand up as a man and as a woman and to fight you. It's not let me just settle for this, small thing on this other thing. So important message. This is the whole idea of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. What's the first, pillar of Islam? Shahada. What does it mean? You have to believe that you are not to be intimidated by another man or woman or any other human being. You answer to nobody except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a very, very important idea in Islam. Number 2, you have to do so in line with the prophetic tradition, how the messenger did it. Not, I like to do this, whatever. I like to go and lead with chest, and I'm going to tell people they are wrong and haram and stuff like that. This is not the prophetic way of doing things. You need to believe that, but you need to implement what you believe based on a very established, clear methodology or clear way of doing things. Number 2 tribe, Banu Hani, is a very interesting concept. They actually bordered the Persians. And they said, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, you're a good man. We like what you say. We like the Quran. We like, your approach. Everything you're saying is cool to go. We accept everything. And by the way, all these Arabian tribes and all the people coming from Hajj, this tribe and this tribe and that tribe and that tribe, don't worry about those guys, man. We got you. We got your back. No worries. You want us to fight them, protect you? Done. Check that box. The only thing that we have is that we are neighbors with the Persians. Anything in the Arabian Peninsula, don't worry about it. We got you. Anything outside the Arabian Peninsula, we can't mess with those people, man. They got some big guns. We can't do anything with them. They are the second, largest military power in the world. We can't mess with that. What was the answer of the Messenger ﷺ? Judging by the first situation, what did he say? Yeah, you know the answer. What did he say? Oh, thank you, but no thank you. Yes? Oh, thank you, but no thank you. I don't play that. You either embrace this message, he said, in its totality, kaffa. You have to take this whole entire message in its totality, or you have to leave it in its totality. I cannot extend you a piece of Islam and withhold another piece like with me. I just have to give you the whole thing, man, because Allah gave me this whole message. I just have to deliver it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned the messenger in the Quran. You have to deliver the entirety of the message. You have to deliver what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, the exact wording, what Allah has entrusted you with. You have to deliver that in its totality. So the message doesn't have room for let me do a little piece of this, a little piece of that. It's an important lesson for us. He came, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, famous hadith, he says, لا تحقرن المعروف شيئا, do not belittle any of the impact of the good that you would do. Not the exact translation, but it's the literal meaning. So he says, do not belittle any of the impact of the good that you could do. لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا, right? So he said that, and he came across 6 people from the city of Yathrib, later known as Mecca. And he said, let me engage these people. He said, what's up? Who are you guys? And he said, we are, folks from Yathrib, from the city of Yathrib. A group from the city of Yathrib. He says, oh, you guys have a memorandum of understandings, MOUs, alliances with the people of the Jews. Antum ahlaful Yahud. You are, you have agreements with the Jews or whatever, your neighbors, you live in the same town. He said, yeah. He says, you might be interested in what I have to say. I have a divine message, a little similar to your neighbors, the Jews. So let me tell you about my message. Would you like to hear my message? They said, yes, we would like to listen and hear what you have to say. And the scales have tipped, and the Messenger ﷺ with these 6 people, he spoke to them. They left and they came back. The important lesson, and I'm going to ask you what's the point. They 6 came back the next year with another 6. How many in total? 6 and 6? Yeah, you didn't, you guys are falling asleep? You good? So 12 people came back. And the Messenger ﷺ said the 12 people that came back is important. Is it important in numbers? What is the change? Year over year, we have 100% change. Yes or no? 6 plus 6, 100% change, right? So if you say, okay, this is 100% success, you're able to double your number. Okay, so if I give you 200, you give me 400. If I give you 800, you give me 1600. So pretty much he said, this is good. He did not say, well, 12, no big deal. We have like thousands of people, and what are 12 people going to do? 6, how silly of me. I spoke to what was the point of talking to 6 and 12? He immediately sprung into action, and he sat down with them. He says, listen, let me teach you about Islam, and this is what Islam is about, and so on and so forth. The following year, they came to how many? 72 men and 3 women, 75 in total. So, a nice breakthrough. Yes or no? 75. So we started with 6, we've gone to 75, and they asked him the same thing. We like your message. We think you're a nice man. What you're saying makes sense. The way you present yourself, your character, sadiq, ameen, trustworthy and honest. That is good stuff. Where do I sign? But before I sign, what do we get? They asked him flat out, if we do everything that you want us to do, what do we get? He says one word to them. If you do everything and you protect me and so on, I promise you nothing of this life. I promise you paradise in the hereafter. That's the only thing that he told them. He said, with this, Rabu Halbaya, this is a fantastic, excellent business transaction. Where do I sign up for that? This is exactly what we are, chasing after, our own salvation in this life. You give us Jannah in the hereafter if we really come with true, sincere intentions, and we protect you in order for you to deliver your message of goodness, of righteousness, and you bring reform, and you bring social change, and you bring justice, and you make equal between human beings, and for no one to answer to another human being except that they answer to God. That is a good message. That is a sound message. I want to support that. I want to sign up for that vision. With this, the Messenger ﷺ was able to finally make the decision and to make the migration from Mecca to Medina, and that journey and the cave and the 100 camels and, the horseman who was following him and so on and so forth. So that is, in a nutshell, a little bit in terms of the introduction of Hijra. It does not talk about, what is the aftermath of Hijra, what has taken place once they reach there. I want to talk to you about, but I'll stop here. I'll check the time check. Anybody has a 7:55? So we still have some more time. Could do maybe another 10-15. Good. I'll stop and I will ask you. Now we have made it to Medina. Anyone has performed Umrah? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. Me and Brother Mustafa went to Umrah together, as a matter of fact, last year. So we spent a good 9 days together. Our best days by far in Medina. We loved it. We had a great time and we never wanted to go back to the hotel. And that is really the idea of Medina. It's a very blessed, sort of, feeling. You get good vibes and you be like, hey, I feel so good here. So subhanallah, once you reach Medina, it was nothing like that. It was completely the opposite. Everybody got sick. They were not really able to adjust. They were homesick. They were very new to the place. When you go to overseas and you drink the water, you get sick, right? Because you just exact thing happened to them. Started getting sick. Aisha, daughter of Abu Bakr, wife of the Messenger ﷺ, later on got sick. Many of the companions, they got sick and they were, missing where they grew up and everything and so on and so forth. The Messenger did important things. He came up with some serious 4 executive decisions that he wanted to implement in order to build a community. And let's talk about this for the next maybe like 5-10 minutes, inshallah. Let me stop here. What have we learned so far? Something about the environment, something about not to belittle the impact of your good deeds, however small they may be, but they could lead to some really great changes. And something about being positive as 6 people and going, oh, Islam is so good. I feel good. Yes. Yes, exactly. Not to present a partialist understanding of Islam. Islam is a total package, presented in its totality. Be proud of it. Be understanding of why it needs to be a comprehensive, coherent offering, not disjointed, not like piece here and piece there, and otherwise the whole machine doesn't work, right? It's a very well-oiled machine, but it needs to come together. Very good. Not to, to compromise. That's good. What about these people? 6 people, they went back home. Yes or no? Okay. They sat down. They felt good. And they were like, oh, Islam is so good. I can pray. I finally have answers to all my existential questions. I know where I came from. I know where I'm going to. I know there's only one God. I know I'm going to be questioned. So I'm going to watch the way I behave. I'm going to watch the way I interact with others. And life is good. I'm going to do that. That's, that's my Islam. Did they do that? What did they do? Yes. They said, look, we feel good. Yeah, everything is good. But we are very, very mission-driven people. We think this is good. Justice is good. The fact that all men are created equal is good. The fact that, there is no privilege of a white man over a black man, and there's no privilege of, this type of gender over this other gender, and so on and so forth. We have to spread this message of reform. We need to spread it. We need to change our environment. That's why the Messenger is coming here. So let's prepare the environment for the things that he's going to do. So if this environment is sound and healthy, some good things are going to happen once the Messenger comes over. And for 2 years, they go out. We wish that the Messenger would make that decision and would come so we can start the actual work. For 2 years, 24 months, back and forth. They wish that this process of reform and change will take place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran a very fundamental ayah, a very fundamental verse. He says, وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ مُهْلِكَ الْقُرَى وَأَهْلُهَا مُصْلِحُونَ. It's not the sunnah, universal sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cause destruction or cause to perish a village while its people are engaged in acts of reform. Muslihun. The scholars, they say, so pay attention here how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closes the ayah. He did not say wa ahluha salihun. He did not say and its people are righteous. He says its people are engaged in acts of righteous reform. Telling people, listen, we need to change this. You have wronged this man and you did not give him a share in business. This is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and this is an act that you should change. You have oppressed your wife. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entrusted you in order to honor and protect your wife and treat her with dignity and so on. This is not befitting for a Muslim. This is haram. This is not acceptable. This is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's an act that you should change. You, sister, have not, honored and respected your husband who goes out every single day to labor and work and exert the effort in order to support the family and so on and so forth. You should love him and respect him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran that we made amongst you mawaddatan wa rahmah, love and mercy amongst yourselves. Where is that, sister? Why are you doing something that's displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why you're not protecting the institution of a Muslim household or institution of marriage in Islam? You have 50% of that responsibility as much as he has that 50% of that responsibility. There were people of reform, of social reform, of calling people for justice. What is the premise of khayriyah, they call it in Quran, or to be the best nation that's brought forth for mankind? Why? Because what? They came from, the Arabian Peninsula. Nobody cared about Arabian Peninsula. There's no armies invaded because nobody cared. You are nobody, literally. But what really, gave that place any kind of weight is the fact that a great message came out of it. And so long as our people are true to that message, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will elevate them. As Umar ibn al-Khattab says, we were a debased, humiliated people, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us into Islam. For if we were to abandon Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would debase us like the first time He did. And if we were to honor Islam, through honoring Islam, we are granted honor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will elevate us. Yeah? So the idea here is that there were people engaged in acts of reform. They did not sit down and say, Alhamdulillah, I make my 5 salah, everything is great. Oh, happy day. That is not what a Muslim does. That is not the idea that enabled this major shift and this major event in the course of history called Hijra. Right? So important to remember that. Okay, so we learned a few things. Yes or no? Changing the environment, not belittle the impact of your good deeds, however they may be small or little. What else? To be engaged in acts of reform, not just, ritualistic act. I do my salah and stuff like that, but I have to participate in forbidding the good and enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, that's what makes you the best of mankind, brought forth for mankind, yes. And of course, there is a prophetic way of doing this, a prophetic tradition. There's a clear methodology in the life and the time of the Messenger ﷺ as to how to do this. It's not like, oh, I think I should do this like, by flexing here and doing this thing. There is a way to do it. There is an etiquette in Islam that you should follow. Okay, what are the things that the Messenger ﷺ, we close with that. What are the things that the Messenger ﷺ, peace be upon him, what are his executive decisions once he reached the city of Medina? Any history readers? Calling all students of Sirah in the house. 1, 2, 3, 4. What are the things that he did? Yes. So 1 out of 4 decisions, most important, to build a place of congregation. How do you define a masjid? He built a masjid. Good. He built a structure, physical structure, super simple. Palm trees, stuff like that, straw, what is it? Straw mats, right? Yeah, like whatever, things like that. So super simple. Okay, big deal. Build a structure. Anybody could build a structure. So what? What makes it significant? He built a building. There is numerous people who built so many buildings before him. What made that building special? Of course, it's founded on the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the worship of the one true God, and so on. So that's ritualistic ibadah, acts of worship. Good. What else? That's the number one purpose of every masjid, is iqamatul salah, to establish prayer. What else? Teaching. There was a second thing in the masjid. The first ayah revealed, the first word revealed in Quran is the word iqra, which means in Arabic, read, which signifies knowledge. So you have to learn knowledge by having teachers, and teachers need a school and classrooms and things like that. God bless the teachers. Any teachers in the house? There's one right there, and I think all of you should thank her for her service. So teachers really, are the reason for generations to rise and the reason for generations to get lost. So teachers really, they quite literally control the future in a way. Okay, so that institution was very, very important. It was a place, as you heard many people, a place in which the Muslims gathered in order to perform something very important called shura, or consultation. So they make decision, or they receive advice as to how to make decisions and so on. So everyone has a stake, everyone has a say, everyone has a voice, everyone has ownership in decision making. Everybody came to the masjid and they made decisions together. They built the school together. Something very important they had in that masjid, because not everyone was rich, right? So what did they have? You guys have something like this here. Huh? Sadaqah box is good. Yeah, but to do what with it? Bathrooms are important, believe me. I think whoever is building a masjid must have nice bathrooms. We're actually building one in Staten Island, and we have 17 bathrooms. Yeah. You should come visit. Building brand new. So Sister Khadija came. You should come, inshallah. I'd love to host all of you, inshallah. We'll bring some really nice shawarma and take me up on my offer. And seriously, we'll make it fun. Everyone is welcome to come, inshallah. So come visit Mass Staten Island. The website is massic.org. Massic.org. Okay, so there was a social service program. You guys have a food pantry here with Sister Sadat, and you had one Dar Dawa and things like that in front of the masjid. You had a table. It was actually a social service program called Ahlus Suffa. So those were the people who are poor amongst the Muslimin, and you would receive a meal, like on daily basis or whatever, from the rich amongst the Muslims. So they had a social services program, food pantry. They had a school there. They had a, decision-making consultation and things as to what they are going to do. They had a prayer space, of course. So it was not like just a structure. It was a community center in which they really did like 90% of what they need to do, not just limited to the prayer. Okay, so we have a masjid, or a mosque, and we have a school. Part of that is a social service program and other things. What else? Two important things that are non-physical. What are they? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Brotherhood. That's the word I'm waiting for. So he did 4 things. Try to remember this. Masjid, madrasa, school, right? So masjid is, the mosque or whatever. Madrasa is a school. Mu'akha, a third M there, 3 M's, right? Third M is mu'akha, is brotherhood. He said that amongst the Muhajirun, Ansar, the people, the indigenous people of Medina, indigenous people of Mecca, he is literally going to couple them together. So this sister from Mecca, this sister from Medina, now you have a very special bond by the messenger personally himself. He's the one, as good as like a bond of marriage. He says, you two support each other. Whatever, she needs, you look out for her and you look out for her. You do whatever, together. Make sure, don't go on like, and she's hungry. Don't go on like, oh, happy, like, lucky, everything is great, and she's miserable. Don't go on like, that's your sister. That, make sure that you take care of her. So, masjid, madrasa, mu'akha, that's institution of brotherhood. And it was quite profound. So some people were like, literally, he says, the messenger said that I share everything with you. Here's 50% of my money. And man was like, dumbfounded, was like, oh my God, like, are you crazy? You're going to give me all this money? He's like, yeah. He said, I have to share. He said, you want me to like answer to him? I'm not going to mess this one up. He said to share with you, here's 50% of my money. The answer was very graceful. He said to him, Barakallahu laka fi mali. May Allah bless your money. Dullani ala suq. Show me where the market is. I am a businessman. I know how to trade. So just show me the market and I can make my own money. So the answer was very graceful. It's like, oh great, 50% of your money. Okay, sounds good. Can I get that check? And it was not like that. But it just shows how deep the bond or the relationship, quite deep and profound of a bond that the Messenger was able to establish between these two groups. And the last thing, in terms of consolidating, one of the things that causes like a lot of issues amongst people is that they don't have a governing document. There was 72, I'm going to close with that, 72 articles in the Constitution of Medina. I actually spent a few months with the International University of Malaysia. They have a course that allows you to study the Constitution of Medina. This is 2016. I don't know if they still offer it. But it's a fantastic document because it talks about how to govern a relationship. It's a social contract for all the inhabitants of Medina. Why it's so great? Because it covers Muslims and non-Muslims. And it really gives us here, living in the West, living in America, deep intellectual Islamic grounding as to how we deal with non-Muslims and how should we be governed in a document that's rooted in a constitution. So the Islamic constitution, or rather called the Constitution of Medina. The Constitution of Medina, I should Google it, 72 articles. It talks about the rights and the obligations of every single member, of every single citizen of the city of Medina. And whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, and there is particularities about certain, groups. The Jews, they have protection and they can do the rituals and so on and so forth. They are named, and others and so on and so forth. So these are the 4 executive decisions that the Messenger ﷺ enacted as soon as he reached the city of Medina. And prior to that, the Messenger ﷺ prepared for a change of environment, made a strategic shift. He engaged, a group of people. He did not deliver a partial version of Islam or compromise his message for the interest or at the expense of his message in order to, reach safety and security. However, he delivered the message in its fullness, in its totality, in its entirety. And he engaged those 6 people who otherwise went back and really engaged others and changed the environment in order for the city to be ready to receive the message of Islam. And the person of the Messenger ﷺ and his companions. This is maybe the most, according to Umar ibn Khattab, single most powerful event in the history of Islam and Muslims during the life and the time of the Messenger ﷺ. We're talking 23 years, 13 in Mecca and 10 in Medina. This is the one incident that he picked and he chose in order to mark the Islamic calendar after the passing of the Messenger. And this is the very insightful executive decision of Umar ibn Khattab that we come to celebrate in this month of Muharram, beginning of the Islamic year. in spite of the fact that the Hijra did not take place in that month, but we honor this selection of his and the significance and the greatness of the event itself. How are you guys feeling? Everybody's up? Nobody fell asleep? All right, we'll learn some good things together today, yes or no? So inshallah, these are important lessons for all of us to reflect on. I think I mentioned like 6 or 7 points altogether. If you're taking notes, I'm happy to share with you after the lecture, inshallah. And I want to ask you, call to action. The ask is that make sure that you take time in your halaqah, in your MSA, even if you're sitting with your siblings and your family or something like that, say, hey, we prayed Maghrib together in the living room or something like that. This is a very important time. You know, Happy New Year, everyone. MashaAllah, we have Islamic New Year. This happened because of the incident of Hijra. And maybe you take like 1 or 2 minutes to like, talk to others about it, encourage others to read about it. Make sure that people are aware, why this important is why this incident is very important. Okay, any questions? Yes. Yeah, I do. I'll give you the exact ayah, inshallah. Actually, I have it listed. 1 second. Any other questions? Give me just 1 minute. I'll come right back to you, inshallah. Sisters, questions, hit me. AMA, ask me anything. All good. All happy. You had your halaqah, and then you had a lecture after, 2 hours of intense learning. You had a good halaqah? You did some personal updates. How was your week and that good stuff? I missed that part. Okay. Brothers, any questions? Yes, has a question? Yes. Mm-hmm. Great question. Hijra happened well over 1400 years ago. How does this incident in history, this historical account or occurrence relate to us like in living right here in this place and living right now? Yes, I got the ayah, so I'll send it to you. Good question. So basically, many scholars have actually entertained this question, and they mentioned that the Messenger ﷺ mentioned in the authentic hadith, after the conquest of Mecca, there is no hijrah. So what did he intend to say by that? He did not want people to descend, physically move to the city of Medina after the conquest of Mecca. He wanted for them to stay where they at, in their respective areas and stuff. And he started sending them, teachers and scholars and to teach them Islam and so on, which actually was great because they started going to their neighboring areas and so on. So there is no hijrah. That is a fact now, and that's confirmed by hadith. But yes, sorry. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's why I'm answering this question. Can we make hijrah to Dallas? It's hot, man. I don't think you should go down there. But mashallah, they have a great community and things like that. Can we do hijrah anywhere, right? Can we make hijrah to Saudi Arabia? It's a Muslim country. There's Mecca and Medina. Forget everything that's happening in Riyadh or elsewhere. But the point is can we do, the Messenger said there is no hijrah. There is no hijrah after the conquest of Mecca, which happened roughly a few years after his migration. But what can we do? The scholars ask, what should we do in order to perform at least a metaphorical hijrah? So many of them suggested that the true hijrah is not the physical one, but the journey from sin to iman, from doubt, to iman, from displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to engage in acts of sinful acts to acts of righteousness. So they said this is definitely one way